Hi, I'm Mothmuse, and today I will be giving you an in-depth guide and breakdown to cosplay contests. Now, first off, let's go over what exactly is cosplay. Cosplay derives from the words costume and play, combined into cosplay. I do want to say that whether you bought your cosplay, whether you made your cosplay, whether you thrifted or upgraded your cosplay, all forms of cosplay are valid, and you are a cosplayer, okay? I want to get that through. There's no elitism here. We're all a bunch of nerds playing dress up. I'm saying that because there is a misconception of cosplay contests being elitist. Where that stigma stems from seems to be in line with you are not allowed to enter a cosplay contest unless you have actually made your own cosplay. And yes, that is usually the case. But here's why.
So I'm actually doing a voiceover for this part because I've done a little bit more research since recording this video, and I wanted to make sure that I'm actually giving the proper information. So the reason why most cosplay contests tend to be more craftsmanship based is because back when cosplay first started, it wasn't really an accessible hobby. It wasn't a very common thing. So most people who cosplayed had to make their own cosplays from scratch, and it was a lot of work. And you weren't really able to buy cosplays as easily as you can today. So back then, cosplay contests were a way to show off all of your hard work and dedication, and just getting to feel validated and rewarded for that. And it's just kind of evolved over the years to what it is now. So that's why cosplay contests tend to be more craftsmanship based and don't really allow bought cosplays. It's because it is for that history and that dedication.
I'm going to be going over sort of the process of what it looks like as a competitor and as a judge, just to give a as clear and honest breakdown of what the process is like. One, for if you're wanting to get into competing and you're just really curious or scared or nervous about what exactly you're going to be getting into, and two, to clear up a lot of misconceptions about cosplay contests in general. Cosplay contests should be a fair and safe space. Some cosplay contests are also called masquerades, while others tend to call it a cosplay contest, but in general, they all follow the same formula. That being said, there is no real standard for cosplay competitions. Again, they all tend to follow the same formula, which is what I'm going to be going over today. But do take everything that I explain and show in this video with a slight grain of salt, because again, every contest is going to be run differently and organized differently, and they always have their ups and downs. Some years are better than others, but for the most part, this is how they are run and should be run. It's usually broken down into craftsmanship, performance, or both. The majority of competitions that I've seen tend to be primarily just craftsmanship. However, there are some that mix in a performance aspect. So what that is with performance, you're only being judged again on how you made your cosplay and the craftsmanship behind it and how clean everything is and how well it was put together. That you get done judged in a private room with a panel of 2 to 5 judges on average, usually about 3 or 4, and they will ask you questions, look very closely at your cosplay, things like that. I will go over all that in more detail here in a bit. But that is the craftsmanship portion, and then you will have a staged portion. If it is just a craftsmanship contest, they will still let you walk on the stage. Usually you'll go up, you'll strike 3 poses, and then you'll walk off the stage. However, once I implement a performance aspect into their competitions, a lot of people would either go on stage, just do some poses, acting out the character, either to some dialogue or some music, usually from the source material of what you're cosplaying from. Like, for example, if you're cosplaying Link from Legend of Zelda and you have the Ocarina of Time theme song playing while you walk on stage. Other people will do a full skit. Some competitions will allow you like a certain amount of time to perform a full skit. Some only give you a couple seconds. Some competitions even have a screen on the backdrop that a lot of people will utilize and have animations for to interact with and help sort of boost their performance. But again, I'm gonna break that down and explain it a little bit more detail further in this video. Usually when a competition has the performance aspect, it's usually combined with the craftsmanship. There's usually almost never a competition that doesn't at least judge craftsmanship. Sometimes they allow you to opt for one or the other, but for the most part, you're usually being judged on your craftsmanship, and then if you choose to, your performance as well. But again, not every competition has both craftsmanship and performance. A lot of them are just craftsmanship. For this video, though, I did work in collaboration with the cosplay department of Non-DeskCon or NDK Denver, and I want to give them a huge thanks and shout out for allowing me to get all of this backstage and behind the scenes footage. This is a competition that I've competed at personally for years, and it is, in my personal opinion, one of the best run cosplay contests. I absolutely love competing here, and they just do everything so well. So I am so thankful that they allowed me to work with them in order to make this documentary. That being said, all of the footage in this video is purely consensual. I did talk with the cosplay head coordinator months in advance about this project, letting all the contestants know if they wanted to participate in this. It was completely optional. Consent forms were filled out. So everything in this video is purely consensual. Being in the judging room and in the green room is a very private and nerve-wracking area, and I wanted to respect all of the contestants and judges and everybody involved as much as possible. Typically, these are areas that you do not film in, and I just want to make that common knowledge. I know we're in the grand age of recording everything and content creation. However, these are spaces that are meant to be kept safe, private, and consensual. So, first step in cosplay contest. When you go to sign up, you are going to be asked which division you are competing in. What are divisions? Let me break it down for you. So divisions are split usually among 3 categories, depending on your experience and your skill level. Again, as each competition is different, they usually go by different names. So I'm going to break down the different names and their equivalents. So usually you start at your lowest division, which is beginners or novice. Those are for people who are getting fresh into making their own cosplays, or maybe it's their first time competing, as the division implies, beginners. Then you have your intermediates or journeymans. These are for people who have a lot more experience in making cosplays, or maybe they've been competing or making their cosplays for a long time, or they have a couple of awards under their belt. At that point, beginners might be too low for you, but you're not quite at a master's level yet, so that would be the middle ground of intermediates or journeymans. At the final top tier, we have the Masters division. Those, as the name implies, are our masters. So these are people who have been competing or making their cosplays for a very long time, or have just really honed down their skills and their craftsmanship. Or they have won multiple high-level awards. Any of those things would potentially deem you at a master's level in a cosplay contest. Now, I do want to put a small disclaimer here. Depending which competition you're competing at or how big of a convention or contest it is, may put you at different levels of the craftsmanship competition or divisions. This is due to the fact that there are different levels and sizes of competitions, and they all have different qualifications. Usually how they deem those qualifications is either how much of your cosplay did you make? Did you make less than half of it? Did you make more than half of it? Did you make 100% of your cosplay from scratch? How many awards have you won? Are they minor awards? Are they major awards? Have you won any awards at all? Third qualifier. Usually what deems you at a master's level is whether or not you make cosplays as your career, or if you do commissions like wig commissions or costume commissions or prop commissions and stuff like that. Some competitions would consider that to deem you at a master's level. And some major competitions, you can have multiple awards, but they still deem you at like an intermediate division because say they're like minor awards, while a smaller size competition might be like, hey, you have multiple awards. We don't care if they're minor or major awards, you have them, so we're gonna place you at this higher division. If you're unsure which division you should be competing in, always just reach out to the convention and ask them. Usually, if you go to their website, they'll have a contact form, and more often than not, they'll have a specific department for cosplay or cosplay contests that you can reach out to. Now that you know the different divisions and where you should be placing, let's go over in more detail how to find the sign-up form and how to sign up. So there will be two ways to sign up to a cosplay contest. Usually they will have you able to sign up online. Usually on their social medias, they'll post when they're going to drop sign-up forms. Depending on how they do acceptance into the cosplay contest is how early in advance they drop their sign-up forms to the competition. I'll go over what I mean by that in just a second. The other way to sign up for contests is some conventions will have on-site sign-ups, meaning you're physically at the convention in person and they have a specific booth or room that you go to fill out a sign-up form and sign up for the contest the day of or the day before. Usually it's only smaller conventions that do that, but sometimes conventions will also have you do online sign-ups, and then if there's space left over, then you can sign up in person as well. More often than not though, if you do want to get into a competition, I highly recommend signing up online first. That way you're more likely to get a guaranteed spot. So, here are the different ways that conventions will accept people into their cosplay contest. First one is first come, first serve. Meaning, once that form drops, whoever fills that out first gets in until they run out of space. So, a lot of them will have it organized into making sure that they at least have a set amount of people that they fit into each division. That way they can make sure that the divisions are split evenly with the same amount of people. Some don't do that and they just fill it in as you go, so there might be a ton of masters and only a few beginners, or vice versa. Some of them fill out really fast, like within the first hour if they're a very highly sought after competition, while others they tend to not fill up super fast and you have, you know, a couple weeks to fill out those forms until they take them down. The second way to get into a competition is through what is called jury. So how a jury works is usually these ones are done far more in advance. So usually first come first serve competition will be like 1 to 2 months before the convention. And you'll fill that out so that way they can email everybody back saying, hey, you got in, here's all the information that you're going to need. While a jury, they actually have to go through all the competitions and handpick who they're going to accept in. Each jury is judged with different criteria, but typically how they work is you will have to have a certain percentage of your cosplay already done. So for example, you have to have at least 50 to 90% of your cosplay completed already with proof and photos of your progress and your cosplay. So the reason why some competitions will opt for a jury is one, to ensure that you did make your cosplay, you are qualified to be at the division that you are, and to ensure that you're not going to drop out last minute because you didn't complete your cosplay. This is because a lot of us do fall victim to con crunch. For those who don't know what con crunch is, it is a term that the cosplay community uses where we are crunching our cosplays right before the convention. Like we are staying up, pulling all-nighters the week of the con, the night before, even in the hotel room, trying to finish your cosplay in time for the convention. This is something that a lot of the community has addressed is not healthy and we need to stop doing. Take care of yourself. It is okay to drop a cosplay. You do not have to have that brand new cosplay for the convention weekend. If finishing that cosplay is going to come at a detriment to your health or your sanity, don't do it. It's not worth it. I can firsthand say it is not worth it. I do understand wanting to wear the cosplay still, wanting to make it on stage. However, whether you're competing or not, it is not worth it. If you are working in your hotel room, if you are going to be working in your hotel room, just drop it. Drop the cosplay, trust me. You are going to be a lot more upset with yourself having spent the majority of the weekend in your hotel room working, trying to finish that, rather than just going to the convention and having fun, whether you're in the cosplay you wanted or not. You are there to hang out with your friends and have fun and have a good time. It does suck to drop out of a contest. It does suck to drop your cosplays last minute. I know that, I understand that, but I promise you, for your own health and sanity, you will be much better off postponing that cosplay, especially if you're competing. Your craftsmanship might suffer greatly for trying to rush that cosplay. Sometimes it is better to postpone that and take your time with it. You can always either try again for the next year, I know that's a long ways away, or there are other conventions and other competitions around that you can enter that cosplay into instead. I know a lot of us will have our hearts set on a specific convention or competition that we want to take that cosplay to. However, again, if you are pulling all-nighters, if you are not eating or sleeping or showering or just overall taking care of yourself, it's not worth it. Take care of yourself. Alright, sorry, went on a tangent there, but it was important to say. So again, usually there's a first come, first serve and a jury, and that is how they work. So the jury, a set of judges or convention staff will go through all of the submissions and hand select ones that they think, yeah, this is qualified, yes, they have enough of their cosplay done, just sort of in general. Sometimes they mix jury with first come, first serve, so they'll go through the jury as they came in, while some will just do an overall jury and trying to vote with all the submissions as a whole. Alright, so how do you find those sign-up forms online? Again, as I stated earlier, a lot of times they will post to their social medias, hey, sign-up forms are up, here's where you submit. Sometimes you'll just go to the website directly and they'll have a special tab under their webpage of where to find that and fill that out. Usually you'll have to submit your name, your stage name, or your cosplay handle, who you're cosplaying, what you're cosplaying from. For example, I'll use my contest piece from back in 2018. I put, they do require your legal name for verification reasons. Sometimes they'll ask for your badge number, not always. Usually they'll ask for your badge number specifically so that they know you are in fact attending that convention and you're not going to drop out last minute for not getting a badge. Because sometimes badges do sell out and they don't want you to take that spot in the contest when you're not able to go to the con. So it's just an extra precaution to make sure that you are in fact going to be present. So back to the example, so I would fill out, I'm cosplaying Inigo from Fire Emblem Heroes, or specifically Performing Arts Inigo from Fire Emblem Heroes, and I would submit my audio with it because this is one that did split with craftsmanship, so we got to do a little performance on stage, whether it was a skit, a dance, posing, whichever you choose to do, and you would go on for a set amount of time. This one was 45 seconds of stage time. A lot of competitions will give you roughly like 30 seconds to some go as long as 3 minutes, depending on the competition that you're entering. Now with that stage audio that I mentioned, not every competition does this. Again, they're all different. Some will require that you have your audio ready in advance when you fill out that form, while others will let you submit your form and then later they'll email you when you have gotten accepted, say, all right, here's the length that you can have your video, here are the formats that we require it under, like a .mov or MP3, just general file formats that you can submit, and you would send your audio with that email. Some conventions will also allow you to have lighting cues, like if you want to dim the lights before or after you enter or exit stage or things like that. Some don't, but some do. But once you fill out that form, you hit submit, you just wait for that acceptance email. Some conventions will tell you a time frame of when that acceptance email is going to go out. Some don't, because it does depend when the contest fills up, or they just send them out as the contest fills up. Again, it varies greatly from competition to competition, but in general, you should be getting an email acceptance. All right, congratulations! You filled out your form and you've been accepted into the cosplay contest. What now? So usually all of the information that you need will be in that initial email, such as when and where your prejudging time is going to be, when and where green room is, when and where you need to check into the cosplay contest, say, hey, I'm here, I will be competing still. That information will always vary. If that information is not provided, or you are confused and have more questions that aren't in that email, again, you can always reach back out to them and they should respond. Now, before we get into the next step, I do want to give some suggestions and advice for when you are finishing your cosplay for the contest, especially if you are going to be doing a performance on stage. You always should, if you are able, try on your full cosplay before the convention. I know a lot of us, I have been guilty of this as well, don't actually put on our cosplays in full until we're actually at the convention. The reason why you want to avoid doing this is because sometimes things might not fit properly, need alterations, or they fall apart the second you put them on. So trying on your cosplay in full, walking around in it, making sure that you can still move around and do things that you want to do for your performance in that cosplay. That way you can make sure if something doesn't fit quite right, or it's not moving the way you want it, or something accidentally breaks, you have time to make those fixes and alterations. Because I promise you, you will be panicking if that happens at the convention itself. Now, same being said for your performance. If you are doing a competition where you are going to be doing a performance, whether it's a skit, posing, or doing like a little dance on stage, whatever. Again, even if you're just going to strike 3 poses and then walk off, you should still practice that beforehand. It genuinely does show in your performance whether or not you have practiced it or if you're just going to wing it. I know there have been a lot of competitions myself where I've just gone on stage and winged it, but it definitely makes a difference practicing everything beforehand. One, you can make sure that you are doing the proper facial expressions, everything looks good, or if you're like, hang on, I don't really like when I pose this far, I think I'm gonna pose here, but not too far forward like this. Just minor details like that. Or if you have, you're lining up your performance with your audio, making sure that you get those cues down and that you don't miss your audio cue, and just lining up everything perfectly, just in general. I'll show a couple examples of what I mean.
Next up, we have Calamity Mix with Puss in Boots from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Welcome to my festival! Where's the music?
was Calamity Mix with Puss in Boots from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Now again, all of this is really important because some competitions do judge you on your performance, and usually nailing your cues and lining up with audio or having good stage presence or your costume moving well on stage or just those things in general, those are what affect your score. I'll go a little more in detail on how exactly everything is scored once we get there, but again, I'm going to be going through this in order of the process. So fast forward, we are now at the convention. You have your cosplay together, you're checked into your hotel room, or maybe you're just driving from your house. Whichever it is, you are at the convention, you are in your cosplay, you are ready to go to prejudging. Here's how prejudging works. And this is typically the most nerve-wracking portion of competitions. This is where you will go into a room and you will be one-on-one with the judges. This is a very private area. This is where you are going to be the most vulnerable. It is, I won't lie, it is very nerve-wracking. Even for people who have been doing this for years or in the Masters division, I myself still get nervous. My voice will shake, my hands will tremor. It is a very scary process to be going through. And this is why this area is usually not filmed. It's a very vulnerable area. However, I promise you, most of the time, if the judges are good judges, they will be very understanding. They are going to be very nice to you. So, when you go into prejudging, you are basically going to hand them over your build book and break down how you made your cosplay. But hold up, what's a build book? Your build book or portfolio is a book or pamphlet or a binder explaining and showing your process of how you made your cosplay. This is usually handed over to show the work in progress, as it will show specific details of your cosplay that they might not necessarily be able to see in person, such as if you drafted your own patterns, if you made your wig from scratch, showing those inside seams, or if you made your own corset or hoop skirt, or the inside of your armor build, or if you did electrical work or whatever. I know a lot of those are very advanced techniques, but it's just an example. Things that the judges can't typically see while you are wearing the costume. So it just gives a close-up detail of those things, and it also shows proof that you did in fact make your cosplay. Unfortunately, it does happen where a lot of people will either buy or commission their cosplay and then enter it in a competition claiming that they made it themselves when they did not. This is very taboo. This is against the rules more often than not. It is just very, very poor sportsmanship. That being said, double check the rules always, just in general, but sometimes you are allowed to go on stage in a cosplay that you didn't make. Now let me explain what I mean. If somebody makes a cosplay, or if you make a cosplay, but you don't want to wear it, you don't want to go on stage, you can have what is called a model. And that person can wear the cosplay that you made and they'll go on stage for you. However, in those situations, usually the rules will require that one, you do declare and disclaim that, and two, that whoever it is that made that costume must be present. And they must be the one explaining, this is how I made it, or this is how they made it. They have to be the one explaining that process. And if anything is won, the award will usually go to the maker. Not every competition allows this, but some of them do. Another workaround of that rule is what I have also personally done. I made 2 cosplays. I made my Medion and I made my Hermes. And my friend modeled Hermes for me because I had a skit performance that I really, really wanted to do. And it wouldn't work as well if I was doing it solo. So I opted for making 2 cosplays. My wonderful friend modeled it for me and helped me do the performance on stage, and I explained the process of how I made both of those cosplays in the prejudging room, and then we went on stage, did our performance, and then left stage. So those are situations where it is okay to have a modeled cosplay. But again, the build book will usually have pictures and proof, brief bullet points or short paragraphs or sentences of how everything was made, constructed, what techniques you used, and sometimes even having fabric swatches. So it's not always required, but it is a good idea to supply swatches of what materials and fabrics and techniques that you used, or if you say you dyed your fabric, showing what the fabric looked like before dyeing and what it looks like after dyeing. This is just really good for judges to have on hand so they know the weight, the texture, the color of your materials, as sometimes that can play a big part into your cosplay, whether it's the flow or movement of like your cape or your dress, or just seeing how well that you got that color accuracy with dyeing your own fabrics, or why you chose the specific fabric that you did. Does it make sense for your character? For example, if you're making a very regal gown, if you use silk or if you use satin to mimic silk, because again, we all know that cosplay can be expensive. Judges should never judge you negatively for using cheaper alternatives as long as it makes sense for your cosplay. I know there's a misconception where people are like, oh, well, they bought the fancy expensive materials, so I am already out of the contest, of course they're gonna win. No. If they are good judges, if they are qualified judges, they will not judge you negatively for that. As long as the fabrics that you chose make sense, it should not judge you negatively. What I mean by that is most people aren't going to make this fancy regal gown out of muslin. Muslin is usually a very cheap, grainy cotton. Most people will use it for drafting patterns and mock-ups. Your cosplay does not have to be expensive to be good. Keep that in mind. Same said for armor builds. I know I'm talking a lot about like fabrics because that's what I personally am more experienced in, but like say somebody made their armor build out of EVA foam and Worbla while this person made their build out of cardboard. I have seen some really clean builds made out of cardboard. They use like free newspaper and wood glue that's been watered down to paper mache their cardboard to smooth it out and harden it and then sanded it down before painting it. And you couldn't even tell that it was cardboard. It was sturdy, it was smooth, it looked cleaner than the foam because that foam build wasn't finished properly. So again, it's not necessarily the materials that you use, it is how clean and how well done your build was and your craftsmanship. And I just want to put emphasis on that. While you are in the prejudging room, once you hand over your build book, the judges will normally ask you first, hey, is it okay if we walk up to you and we take a close look at your cosplay, we get near you? Are you okay if we touch you or your cosplay? What they mean by this is so that they can come up and look very closely at the details of your cosplay, looking at your seams, flipping your seams, looking at your hems or the inside of your cosplay. What all of that means is they're going to be coming up. See, I have my neckline on my shirt here. If I had made this shirt, they would be coming up, they would be looking at the inside. I know it's really hard to see because this is a black shirt, but they will be looking at what kind of seam you used, how you finished your hem. I know these are a lot of words that you might not necessarily know if you are a beginner cosplayer. However, those are words that I do highly recommend that you look up and research, because while you are in prejudging, you are going to want to know what necessarily you are talking about. You're going to want to look up these different techniques and what they are called, because it will make it easier for the judges, it will make it easier for you, it'll make you look more professional and like you know what you're doing if you know these terms. A lot of times, when I was a beginner cosplayer and I first got into competitions, I knew what I was doing, but I didn't know what it was called. So it's a good thing to know the terms of what techniques you are doing. If you are unsure, you can always reach out to somebody else if you know other cosplayers who might be more experienced. But a good technique while you're in prejudging, because again, it can be very nerve-wracking, there's always going to be something that you just will forget to go over in the prejudging room, especially because you only have a small amount of time. Sometimes you only get as little as a minute to go over everything, while sometimes you'll get like 5 to 10, maybe if you're lucky, 15 minutes. But a lot of times you'll usually get about 5 minutes on average in that prejudging room. And there's a lot to go over in that time.
I apologize if the mic quality suddenly changes right here. I totally forgot to mention something about the build books. In your build book, my biggest recommendation from my own personal experience, as well as having talked with other judges of what they look for and what they want in a build book or prefer, is have more pictures, less words. Because as I mentioned, you have such a small amount of time in that prejudging room, and they're going to have even less time to look at your build book after. It's a lot easier to pick apart looking at photos and seeing the cleanliness and the techniques and the progress and just overall proof that you were the one who made the cosplay than it is to read an entire paragraph of what you did. A qualified judge should be able to tell what you did just from the photos alone, and if not, they're going to be listening to you in prejudging. You can still add words in your build book, don't make it just pictures. Like, add bullet points being like, this technique, or I did this here. Even short sentences, just don't write a whole essay, because I promise you, if they see more than a couple sentences, they just will not read it all together. They will just skip over it. I have had judges tell me directly, if they see you write a full paragraph, they will not read it. And that's not to be mean, that's not to be rude, it's just because they don't have enough time to do that. With the number of contestants that they have to get through, they don't have time to read all of that. So again, just keep it short and simple and fill it with all of your best progress and detailed photos.
A couple good techniques to make sure that you get everything that you want and that you don't miss anything is a lot of people will go over the head to toe method, or toe to head, where you go over if you have any headpieces, your wig, any neck pieces, your top, your jacket, your undergarments, like if you made your own corset or anything that's underneath the shirt that the judges might not be able to see, your pants or skirt or whatever, and then your shoes, or vice versa. A lot of people do tend to avoid this technique though, as it does mean if you run out of time, depending where you are, you're not going to get that part of your cosplay. So another good technique is the important parts first. Everything that you want to show off to the judges, make sure you share first. Like if you made your wig from scratch, or if you're really proud of the embroidery on your skirt, or if you're really proud of the lights that you programmed yourself in your armor build, whichever it is, you'll go over those details first, and then sort of going over the rest of the bits and pieces as you go, making sure that again, you get the parts that you are most proud of first. A third technique is just bringing note cards, having everything written down that you know you want to go over, or that you need to go over, and just going through those note cards. But again, following the important parts first, that way if you don't make it through everything, at least you got out what you wanted. Alright, now that prejudging's over, the scary part is done. Or maybe not. So you'll usually have a little bit of downtime, whether your prejudging was the day of or the day before. Some prejudgings are done on Friday, some are done on Saturday. Usually the contest itself is on Saturday. Some conventions will have the contest day on Friday or Sunday, just really depends. But more often than not, they are on Saturday, as Saturday is the big day of the convention. And cosplay contests are one of the main attractions for a lot of people, whether you're a cosplayer or just a con attendee. So before the contest starts, usually like 1 to 3 hours prior, you'll have a call time for something that is called green room. Some conventions call this other things, but more often than not, it is called green room. So this is a space or area that all of the contestants will gather in to go over, hey, here is your stage number, this is how you are going to enter, this is how you're going to exit, and this is where you are going to stay during the duration of the cosplay contest. So, what that all means. So you will go into this room, you will check in, say, hey, I'm here, I will be walking on stage today. They will hand you your number. What your number is the order that you will be walking on stage. Because there is a vast number of contestants, they want to make sure that everybody is going on when they're supposed to. Whether you have stage audio or just the MC or the host announcing, here comes X cosplayer dressed as this from this, and then you'll walk on stage, the audience will cheer, and then you'll do your performance or your poses and then walk off stage. Now, most contests should, and I say should, have a ramp. Not all of them do. The reason why every competition should have an ADA accessible ramp is because, one, some builds or cosplays are difficult to walk in, let alone on stairs. Whether you have a big ball gown, whether you're wearing heels that are difficult to walk in, or you're in the armor build and you just cannot walk up those steps. It's not just cosplayers like myself who are disabled or might have mobility aids. Non-disabled cosplayers as well might need that ramp to get on and off stage. I know there have been issues in the past of conventions either not having a ramp in general, or they do have a ramp, but it's not accessible. If your competition does not have a ramp, complain, make a fuss about it. You can always reach out to the convention in advance saying, hey, if it's not stated already, will you have a ramp? Will it be accessible? And if they say no, complain about it. If they still say no, don't compete there. I really hate saying it, but if a convention is not willing to listen to its attendees in conventions, the best way to protest or make them listen is to just not go. Don't compete there. Don't attend. That is the best way to make them listen. Because if they're not going to listen to you, they will listen to the money. I hate to say it, but it is true. That being said, let's assume the competition that you're competing at does have a ramp. Some competitions will have a ramp and stairs on one side and only stairs on the other. They'll have you walk up one way and then walk down the other. But if you need that ramp and it's only on one side, usually as long as you communicate that with them, they'll have you walk up and then walk back down that way. It's a very niche thing, but again, I want this to be as detailed and informative and transparent for you as possible, just so you know what you're getting into and what you need to advocate for. Do not be afraid to speak up. I know, again, it's very nerve-wracking, but do not be afraid to communicate, hey, this is what I need. Stand up for yourself. Again, I know a lot of us are very socially anxious or shy or introverted, and it's hard to speak up for ourselves, but I promise you, a good competition should be as accommodating and understanding as possible, and they will want to work with you, and they will listen, or so they should. I say that because unfortunately there are competitions that don't, but I don't want that to discourage you. More often than not, they are understanding, they are wanting to work with you, they are wanting to help you out and support you. But again, unfortunately, with the good, there is the bad. If you happen to be at one of the bads, just keep that in mind for next year and just know, hey, I'm gonna skip out on this one, I'm gonna try this one instead next year. But once you're in green room, they give you your number, you're just kind of chilling and vibing, or maybe rehearsing backstage quietly, because sometimes you are quite literally backstage and the audience can still hear you if you are being too noisy. So they'll usually ask you to be quiet while you're there. Sometimes green room is a different room altogether, and then they'll call you up in waves, say, hey, we need numbers X through X, line up, and then they'll take you down a hallway and into that backstage area while you walk up stage, walk off, and then you'll go back into that room. Or again, maybe it's already backstage, so you just go from backstage, on the stage, and back to backstage. Again, it's different for every competition. Sometimes they'll have you go into the audience at a specific section. Usually they try to avoid doing that because they don't want everybody looking at, oh, that's that really cool cosplay that was just on stage is sitting right next to me. And then you're not paying attention to the person who's on stage when that's where the focus should be. But yeah, it varies. Green room is honestly probably one of my favorite parts of the competition, because during this time you're going to be backstage with all the other contestants, and honestly, personally, when I have always competed, everybody is so nice and supportive and friendly in green room. This year at NDK, when I was doing the documentary, I just got to witness everybody cheering for each other and clapping for each other and supporting each other when they went on and off stage or when they won their awards, whether they knew them or not. It is such a wholesome community, and I love being a part of this community, and it makes me so happy. Usually once you've been competing at a certain competition for multiple years, you get to know everybody back there, and you make new wonderful friends in the cosplay community. Even if it's your first time or you're there that 1 year and then you don't compete at that same contest again, you still make and build a community and friendships and relationships with people there, and it is just overall such a wholesome and supportive community. Unfortunately, sometimes there is always that one bad apple or that one person with poor sportsmanship. It's inevitable, it's going to happen. But overall, from my own personal experience, not just at this convention, but other conventions I have gone to and competed at, and talking with my own friends, their experiences as well, in general, the community is very supportive. Awards. So oftentimes after the competition, unless it's a craftsmanship only where the judges have already deliberated in advance, since you're only being judged on that pre-judging, if there is a performance aspect, there will usually be like a break or a halftime show or something like that, where the judges will go off and they will deliberate and go over everybody's scores and who they believe should win either a judge's choice or a division award, best in show, etc. Now, I did say early in the video that I would go over scoring. NDK has so graciously shared how exactly their scoring is broken down, which I will supply here if you want to pause and read in more detail, but I will briefly go over everything. Again, every competition is different. There is no standard criteria of how contests are run and judged. Every single one is different. For the most part, again, they do follow the same general rules and steps and criteria, but again, no two are exactly the same. So always, one, read the rules of the competition that you are going to be competing in. Two, if you have any questions or concerns, just reach out to the convention or the cosplay department. They will respond and they will answer. And if they don't compete there. Because if they can't communicate with you, it's probably not well ran. But in general, when you do craftsmanship, it's judged on how clean your work is, accuracy, and this is one of the things that again varies from convention to convention. Accuracy is definitely one that is a little more flexible in how it is judged. It's not necessarily you look exactly like this character. It's more so, is this character recognizable? Can we tell who you are cosplaying? Are the details mostly lining up? Are you making sure that you're matching colors? Like say you're cosplaying Princess Peach. Are you wearing a pink dress or is your dress bright red? If it is red, is there a reason for why you did that? Does it make sense? This rule takes place for two reasons. One, Gajinkas and personal designs, or OCs. A lot of times say you want to cosplay a Pokemon, but you're not making a mascot costume. You want to do what is called a Gajinka, which is creating a human-like design or outfit with attributes to tie it into that specific Pokemon. So that's where the accuracy steps in of, is it recognizable? Can you tell that they are cosplaying this specific Pokemon or character or creature? Second reason for this is discrimination. If they are a good judge, you should never, and I mean never, be judged negatively for your skin color, for your body type, for your gender, whatever. You should never, ever be judged negatively on that. And I want to put this through those certain viewers watching. Because unfortunately, this has been an issue since the beginning of cosplay, and an issue much more now with the rise of social media and cosplay becoming more mainstream. You are allowed to cosplay characters that you don't perfectly look like. If you want to cosplay Jinx from Arcane, but you are plus sized, you can cosplay that. You will not be judged negatively for not having that body type. If you want to cosplay Rose Quartz from Steven Universe, but you are not curvy, you are still allowed to cosplay that character. It will not judge you negatively. If you are cosplaying a character with that anime white skin, but you are a person of color, you can cosplay that. It should not negatively affect your score. If you are cross-playing or doing a gender bend, it should not negatively affect your score. You are allowed to cosplay who or what you want to cosplay, so long as it is not offensive. The only times that it is not okay is if you are trying to change your race. We do not change this color of our skin if it is a natural skin tone. We do not try to change the shape of our eyes to match a more Asian appearing character. Because in the end of the day, it is a cosplay, it is something that you can take off and go back to normal, while people of those body types or races cannot simply just take everything off. And this is something that is unfortunately a very common issue with the cosplay community, not just in the competition scene, but in general. Because I know time and time again, it does happen where somebody will blackface, or they will race fish, or they will fat shame. And I'm sorry for this video taking such a serious turn, but again, it is something that does need to be stated. We are in this community to be supportive, to express ourselves, to be creative, to have fun. This is not for accuracy. I know that is a criteria within judging, but as I said, it is judged in a way that isn't screen accuracy. That being said, we are all a bunch of nerds playing dress up. Let's have fun with it. Let's be supportive. Let's be creative. Now that that tangent is over, back to breaking down scoring. As you may have read on the list of craftsmanship, what all is being judged there. Performance. How performance is usually broken down is how well can you move in your cosplay? How well does it move on stage? If you're in an armor build, are you able to walk around, or are you kind of stiff and shuffling? If you have a dress or a cape, is it flowing majestically on stage, or is it kind of caught and stiff and not really flowing super well? Are you able to like move and do your poses, or are you just kind of stuck because your outfit's a little too tight? Because that does all fall into craftsmanship as well. How well your costume fits, or how well put together it is that you can move. But again, that does also play into performance because stage presence is a part of it. And as I mentioned earlier, if you have audio with your performance, how well are you lining up your poses or your lip syncing or everything to your audio? All of that affects your score. All right, now the judges have finished deliberating, and they're about to announce the winners. Have good sportsmanship. Okay, as I mentioned, this year at NDK, everybody was being very supportive and cheering for each other, whether they knew each other or not, and it was just overall a very supportive community. And that is what I want you to do when you compete. Be supportive of each other. Whether you thought this person was gonna win, or you thought this person was gonna win, whoever wins, be supportive. We don't like seeing those, that person won, well it should have been this person. Oh, that person put so much time and money and effort into their cosplay, they should have won. Well, so did everyone else. Everybody there put in a ton of time, a ton of effort, a ton of their budget, everything into that cosplay. That being said, I do want you to understand that with the number of people who will enter a competition versus the number of awards that are available, statistically speaking, there is a good chance that you aren't going to win entering that contest. And I don't say that to be negative. I say that so that you don't go in expecting to win and then you don't. Most people who are veterans to cosplay competitions understand, hey, I'm gonna compete, I'm gonna put in my best effort, I'm gonna go on stage, and I'm just gonna do my best and have a good time with it. If I win, that's a huge bonus. Obviously, everybody who competes wants to win, but don't expect it. It's not a bad thing to want to win, and when you don't win, to be upset or bummed or hurt about it. That's okay. That's a normal feeling and emotion, especially when you put so much time and effort and money into your cosplay. That is an okay feeling, but be a good sport about it. Don't be like, wow, how dare you have won? I hate you, I'm so mad at you, or I can't believe I didn't win. The judges picked their best friend, or it was rigged, or don't get in that mentality. Be a good sport about it. A lot of times competitions will have a space for you to talk to the judges after, or sometimes the judges will be open saying, hey, if you want to message me on social media, you can reach out to me and I can give you advice on how to improve your build. So if you want to know, hey, what did I do well in my cosplay? What could I have done better? The judges can give you advice on that so that in the future, you know what to work on and what to improve. A lot of times in competitions, sometimes it's really hard to choose a winner. You might have, say, 3 different people who are like above and beyond with their craftsmanship, but they can only give 1 award. And so sometimes it'll come down to that just that one tiny little detail that just put that one person a little bit above. And that's what was the tiebreaker and caused them to win. It's not necessarily that you weren't good enough or you didn't deserve it. And I just want you to keep that in mind. So even if you don't win, maybe you were on par. Maybe you almost won. It was just that one tiny little tiebreaker. And again, especially if you're in the audience, only the judges know every fine detail of that cosplay. And unless you were in that prejudging room, you're never gonna know. So while you might be in the audience or even just standing next to somebody looking at their cosplay, if they're allowing you to look up close and you're talking it over with each other, because that's what we do in Green Room. We're like, oh, that's so cool. Can I look at this detail? Wow, how'd you do that? You know, talking with each other, supporting each other, sharing techniques and advice. Because that is something that we do in Green Room, and that's how we build connections and relationships. Or, wow, I really loved the character or the show that you're cosplaying. Or, hey, what are you cosplaying from? I'd love to check out that game or that anime. You know, just in general. But unless you were in that judging room, you're not gonna know the details. You're not gonna know why that person won or why that person didn't. And again, it could be that those 2 people were very close. It could be that, say, that huge build that you saw on stage, you're like, from 10 feet away, as we call it the 10-foot rule, it looked immaculate, it looked jaw-dropping. But when you look at the finer details, you're like, oh, that wasn't finished quite properly, or oh, the paint's chipping here, or whatever it is. While this really simple appearing cosplay, the craftsmanship was just impeccable. There was no loose seams, it was flawless, it was... they made their own corset, which is not an easy thing to do. And I'm going to switch up that analogy too, because I know there's a huge discourse of it's always the sewists and never the foam makers. We're going to switch up that analogy. Let's say it was earlier in the video how I used the example of that person that made a cardboard armor set where you couldn't even tell it was made with cardboard. Meanwhile, this person made a fancy ball gown, but they used hot glue to finish their hems because they ran out of time and they couldn't bring their sewing machine with them, so they hot glued it in their hotel room. You're never going to know unless you were in that judge's room. So just be a good sport. I do have some interviews that I did with contestants who did fill out that consent form and wanted to or were willing to give their input and insight onto what they think of competitions or advice that they might have. And I highly recommend giving this portion a watch.
Hi, post-editing Moth here. I just want to say before we get into the interviews, I'm so sorry about the audio quality. I did my best to record in an isolated, quiet hallway. Unfortunately, while this was the emptiest hallway that we could possibly find at the convention center, there was still a lot of noise and talking in the background, and I did my best to try and filter it out. Unfortunately, in the process, that kind of distorted the audio. So again, I'm so sorry, but I did my best.
What is a piece of advice that you'd like to give someone who may be new to the contest scene?
Don't be scared to try new things. And don't be scared of the other cosplayers. I know their cosplays can look really, really scary, and you can see a beginner and you're like, how in the world did you make that? They're just a nerd like you. Talk to them. Learn new techniques. It's really fun getting to learn new things and meet new people. So just talk to people. They're not scary.
One is, don't expect instant gratification for everything you do. I think there are a lot of younger kids who things really being that way, but it's really important to know that, like, it's okay to improve, and it's fun to improve, it's fun to meet people, and it's fun to talk to people about certain things. It's okay to not be really.
What is your favorite part about competitions?
Probably between performing on stage and backstage. I love scoring. I love talking to everyone.
That's a really good question. I agree with Mari on that one. But I also really enjoy the process of making it and having the chance to, it sounds stupid, but show it off and be like, guys, I made this. Even if it's terrible, I'm still proud of it because I put all my work and energy into it.
And if you could, what is something that you'd like to tell either your past or future self regarding contests?
Dating Mari is going to be really interesting. Oh, yeah. Don't give up, even when it's hard, and you've got each other's backs, and we help each other out when we need it. And it's okay to get help from other people. That's the great thing about being in a group or a duo.
And then lastly, what is something that you wish more people knew about cosplay contests?
To trust the judges.
Have fun. That stuff.
It's not always about the big, really shiny builds. Sometimes it's the small builds that are clean or that you put effort into and you're really proud of that can win awards. It's not always huge ones. You might not get as much recognition for it because people like seeing the shiny things, but at the end of the day, that's not really what matters.
What is a piece of advice that you give to somebody who's new to the cosplay contest?
Ooh, a piece of advice. Honestly, give yourself a deadline before the convention. Do not crunch it. It's really bad. And don't be afraid to drop out. Your health is always the most important thing ever. It's okay to drop out if you can't do it.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I struggle with that still.
Same.
What is your favorite part about competitions?
Honestly, I think the favorite part is the performing aspect. I love getting to go on stage and like show off and see everyone else's. That's my favorite thing, actually, seeing everyone else's cosplays. I love getting to go to the judging room and I'm like, oh my god, you look so good as everyone else walks up.
It's such a good movie. I love it.
Oh, I love everyone here.
If you could, what is something that you'd like to tell either your past or future self about contests?
Oh, past me, don't stay up until 6 a.m. in that room sewing on lace when your judging is at 10 a.m. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Just drop out. Just drop out.
Lastly, what is something that you wish more people knew about contests?
I wish people knew that it isn't like actually competitive. Like, we're not really against each other. A lot of people are like, oh, well, this person should have won. And it's like, well, that's not how we see it. We know that everyone put in a lot of work and we appreciate everyone. And it's not really a competition, even though it is a competition. Yeah. We're all very supportive of each other and it's not as scary as thing.
What is a hurdle that you have to overcome your possibility?
Or if you have I think it's probably accepting myself. You know, like you can't change. You can change a lot, but you know, you can't change your height. You can't change your build. You know, yeah. And it's just kind of hard sometimes to accept. You know, like who I am. You know, I'm African American. You know, I'm very light skinned. That's always been fun to accept myself as African white, African American, it's hard, you know, that was my skin color.
What is your favorite part about competition?
It's like I said before, it's definitely about having fun. Because, win or lose, if you can have fun, that's like you win every time, and it's like if you're like there to like, I'm here to win, this isn't about fun. It's like there's a good chance you're gonna go home a loser.
Yeah. Especially with how many people compete.
Yeah. So there's a lot of us. I think 60 to 80. I don't know numbers, but there's a lot.
If you could, what is something that you'd like to tell either your past or future self?
Gosh, I'd say don't give up. Keep trying different things. You learn something new every day. Gotta learn, keep the creative juices flowing. Just keep on going. Don't give up. You, the viewers, don't give up. You'll find your little niche, your little spot. Just keep looking. Don't give up.
First off, what is a piece of advice that you'd like to give someone who's new to competing?
A piece of advice I'd like to give to someone who's new to competing. It sounds cliche, but truly just like have fun with it. For anyone who's kind of like on the fence about competing, I would say just go for it. Before I started competing, I really hesitated about applying to contests because, I didn't want to like not get in. But if you don't apply, you won't even have a chance to get in at all. So I would say just go for it, even if you are a little scared or apprehensive. And if you need some help building up that courage to apply, ask some friends to hype you up.
And then, similarly, what advice would you give to someone who recently moved down divisions, i.e. beginners to novice to journeyman or journeys to masters?
The biggest advice for someone who recently moved up in divisions. So from beginner to journeyman, I would say one of the biggest areas to focus on is just like simple and clean, like really nailing those foundational skills of cleanliness when you're in intermediate, because those have to be completely nailed by the time you get to masters if you want to place. So that's like a great time to focus on perfecting your top stitching, your hems, maybe looking into some couture finishes or hand finishes instead of everything by machine. Great time to do like a blind hem, doing your like bias tape and your cuffs by hand instead of by machine, just for that like extra layer of cleanliness and polish. And then for intermediate to masters, I feel like I've just entered masters recently myself, so that's a tougher one. I think one general advice that will work for everyone is to really consider how you present yourself in your build. Consider like your thesis with your costume and present that to the judges with like the main words that back it up. For example, maybe your thesis was learning and mastering stretch garment patterning and doing like appliquing with stretch fabrics and kind of carrying that thesis to help be memorable. My favorite part about cosplay contests, that's really easy. It's definitely the performances. I love seeing people on stage strut their stuff and give a show. And I love finding new media to watch just by seeing people's amazing performances and costumes.
What is something that you didn't realize or know until you started judging compared to when you were just competing?
Something I didn't realize or know before I started judging when I was just competing, I think, was how important it is to be memorable to the judges, especially when you're in contests with like over 50, like even 100 people entering. You really just want to be memorable to the judges. That'll help a lot. So considering what kind of like extra flair or detail you can add to help stand out, and that could even be how you present yourself with your build book, and your pre-judging could be how you stand out.
And what is something that you would like more people to know about from the judge's perspective of cosplay?
For people who don't craft or compete, I would definitely like them to understand that so much of what we take into consideration you can't see on the stage. And there's so much work that goes behind every single costume, and just because a costume doesn't win an award doesn't mean it's not an incredible costume that deserves praise. And then on the performance side, I wish more people would also realize how much work it is because these are cosplayers and they have to do their own choreography. They're learning how to do video editing, audio editing, even some are doing animation themselves, building props, and really putting on these full theatrical productions all by themselves. So I would just like people to understand.
Lastly, what is something that you would like to tell either your past or future self regarding contests?
I think I would tell my past self just not to feel like there's any rush. I did a lot of contests in 1 year. It was honestly too many. And it's okay to slow down and do only like one build a year and really put your best foot forward. And I think I would tell that to my future self as well, just to like remember, do not feel like you need to rush to stay relevant and just to have fun and enjoy the process as much as the contest itself.
All right, well, thank you all so much for making it this far in the video. I know this was a very long video, but again, I wanted to be as transparent as possible and breaking everything down. Hopefully this puts you at a little bit more ease. I know it's a lot to go over, but having sort of everything broken down and that behind the scene footage and perspective of everything helps you get a little bit more understanding of what competitions are like. Thank you all for being so wonderful and keeping this community and making it what it is. I am so glad to be a part of it, and I want to contribute what I can to this community that has done so much for me. Stay awesome, stay supportive, happy cosplay.